Welcome to T Boys TV. We are back again with another live. It's the first one of this Euros 2024. Obviously, I did the last Euros. Really enjoyable, actually, especially with Blake. If you're an OG, you'd know. I've got to try and do something with him again, man. Especially for that. Do you know what I mean? That was really good at the time. But I've got a few people already that have said, because for the Euros, for the England games, I plan to do watch-alongs and potentially fan cams in person. And a few people have said they'll jump on the channel, which is great. So yeah, that'll be good for that. But yeah, first load of stuff for this Euros on the channel. There is now a playlist, so everything that I do for the Euros this year, you guys will be able to see that in a playlist. But yeah, big up to everyone that's waiting. And I thought I'd do it live. Do you know what I mean? The England Euro 2024 squad, the official squad, has been announced. So I thought I'd talk on it. And best England 11. If you had the opportunity to pick an England 11, say the first game was tomorrow, what would you go with? I'm going to go with what I would go with in a bit. But I'm going to start off with reacting to the squad. So obviously the squad's come out today, like I say, officially. And that is as follows. So the three goalkeepers, Dean Henderson, Pickford and Ramsdale, always going to be them lot. I mean, me personally, out of that, I mainly look at the main keeper because it's very rare, that keepers do get injured, like in tournaments that I can think of, major tournaments anyway. So I think that's a good enough three, to be quite honest with you. Anyway, Pickford always turns up for England, so I can't really complain about that, to be honest, as much as I don't rate his distribution. For England, he does well. Ramsdale, not had the greatest season. I know he hasn't played a lot, but when he did play before Raya come in, he did look a bit suspect. I remember in the pre-season for Arsenal, he didn't look up to it, to be honest. Obviously, he's been rumoured to leave. He will leave because he'll want first-team football. I've heard a few teams, Newcastle. I saw another team, but I can't remember who it was from the top of my head. So yeah, he'll be gone out of the Emirates soon. And then Dean Henderson, obviously, come in at Palace and play quite a lot. And again, he's a good keeper. He's a keeper I rate highly. I think he's, done really well at Palace, if I'm going to be honest. And a lot of Palace players have, to be honest with you. So yeah, goalkeepers I have no complaints with. Then the defenders. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting for me. Lewis Dunk, how has he got in? I don't understand. I remember that that friendly game we had not too long ago. He was all over the place. It was the one where Bellingham scored the late on equaliser. Was it Belgium? I think it might have been. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat or if I'm right. But he just looked really, really suspect in that game. Yeah, and it's one game, but still, I do think since Ben White's left Brighton, his dunk ain't been great. He was meant to be the better one, people were saying. Ben White's been playing as a right back for Arsenal, where he's much better, by the way. He's centre back, he's not great. But yeah, not sure about that. Braithwaite should have been in instead of him for me. Joe Gomez, now, yeah, I'd have put Gomez in there because he's quite versatile. He can play a lot of different positions, left back, right back, centre back. Again, he's one of them players similar to Ben White, where he's actually better as a fullback, in my opinion. But yeah, I would have went for him. Not to start, but went in to have him as an option. Mark Gay, again, a lot of Palace players have played really well. So yeah, I would have went with him again. No complaints there. Konsa, yes, but again, Konsa seems to be like Gomez and like Ben White in the sense where he seems to be better as a player out. On the the flanks. Ever since he's played there for Villa, I'd say he's been okay. Not as good as like Gomez in that position, for instance, but still been decent. Luke Shaw. I mean, England are a bit short on left-back options. You look at the right side and we're chilling. You've got Trent who can play there. You've got Walker. You've got Trippier. You've got Gomez as another option. You've got Konsa. But left-back, we're not fulfilled with great options, if we're going to be honest, or as many options anyway. You've got Luke Shaw, who again he does do well for England. A little bit surprised he's in though. It's like someone said in the chat. Um, where was it? Someone did. Yeah, Chris. There you go, Chris. Yeah, that's it. He put it stupidly put Luke Shaw in. It was not. Yeah, I am a bit surprised just for that sense. I mean, if he was fit, me personally, I would still put him in because he's another player similar to Pickford, where he does do well for England. So no complaints on that end for me personally. But right now, it doesn't really make sense. But then again, I think it's because of the lack of actual left backs as it is. The other players you're going to be playing there can play there, but it's not their main positions, i.e., if you go with Gomez, i.e., if you go with Trippier. So I do understand it as a sense, but if he does start, I will be a little bit surprised, if he's still not 100% by the time we play our first game. John Stones, if I'm being honest, me personally, this is the only centre back I'm sitting here with confidence with, because you've seen at Man City, yes, Man City have got loads of players, so it's easier to look good, but at the same time, I feel the way he's fulfilled and improved, especially playing as a like in certain games, it looks like he's playing as a CDM for Man City because how what he's told to do, and he looks good doing that. And I feel out of the centre backs that we do play in the Euros, the ones that go forward from the back, i.e., John Stones, like taking out the fullbacks, I'll be confident with him doing that. So yeah, that's the only centre back I can sit there with a lot of confidence with, if I'm going to be honest. Going into the Euros. And then Trippier, again, versatile player. Hasn't had the best of seasons, but I would have still picked him anyway, personally. He's very good at set pieces as well. You look at that game against, who was it, Croatia, all them years ago. So, again, you're going to go with him. And then Kyle Walker, again, I would be starting him. Obviously, I'll get into my lineup that I'll go with, if the Euros started tomorrow, a bit later. But yeah, Kyle Walker, I'd definitely go with him to start for sure at that right side. I mean, like I say, we are, in good positions when it comes to the right side of options. But yeah, I feel I would go with him. I do feel he's personally the best right back in the Premier League, my personal opinion. But yeah, so defence I'm mainly happy with. It's just Lewis Dunk. I'm not sure how he's got in because that game against Belgium in a friendly not too long ago is awful. Braithwaite should be in any day of the week for me, instead of him. So other than that, there's not really any complaints. Obviously, I'll get into players that, weren't picked as well in the end a bit later on after this as well. And then moving on to midfield, obviously they've counted Trent as a midfielder. Again, in this tournament, I do want to see him playing in midfield because, again, like I say, we've got them options on the right side of the right back, positions. So yeah, Trent definitely. We know how good he is at crossing the ball, switching play and stuff like that. So that goes without saying, really. Nice finish the other day in the friendly as well. So yeah, you've got to go with him definitely. Conor Gallagher, interesting one. I mean, to be honest, he has done well for Chelsea this year. Much better than I thought he would. So I don't mind that one. Again, I would have rather, me personally, like a Ward-Prowse because I feel he's got more to his game. But yeah, that's just my opinion. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Kobbie Mainoo, again, good youngster, but he shouldn't be starting for me in the Euros, and I'll be very surprised if he does. You're putting that pressure. Southgate should have learned from that when Saka was a bit younger and he obviously missed that penalty. You can't put pressure on a young player like that. So for me, it's a similar thing with Mainoo. I don't want to see him start. I don't mind seeing him come on a few times, but for me, I don't want to see him start. I want to see experienced players that have played in these tournaments start. So that's just my personal opinion. And then Declan Rice, again, goes without saying. I'm not really going to get into him. He's definitely be in. And then Wharton. Now, that's an interesting one. I mean, he's had a really good season at Crystal Palace. Actually, the same age as me, which is nuts. But yeah, again, similar to Mainoo, where I don't want to see him start, but I don't mind seeing him come on a few times and stuff like that. But again, me personally, I'd like to see like a Ward-Prowse in, instead of, I don't know, maybe Gallagher, obviously a Ross Barkley as well, even though he is pretty much gone to Villa now. It's just a matter of when the window actually opens to confirm it. You know, now that he's playing for Aston Villa, he might actually get picked for England. I mean, hopefully, that'll actually be good. If I could ideally pick, I'd pick Barkley over Mainu. Yes, he's got that experience as well over him. And, probably Ward-Prowse over either Wharton or Gallagher. But I don't mind the midfield too much. Like I say, I just don't want to see them youngsters starting games. Unless we've won our first two games and then the last game is, we've already qualified, then maybe yes in that game. But in the more pressurised games, no, thank you. Just me personally. And then moving on to the forwards, Bellingham, again, goes without saying. Question for you guys in the chat. I've seen it heavily, spoken about in the football world recently. Should Jude Bellingham get the Ballon d'Or? For me personally, it's out of him and Vinicius Junior. You look at Bellingham's first season, especially adapting to a different culture. It took him a while to learn Spanish, but he seemed to do it now. Obviously, if you see the Madrid celebrations, and he's just stepped up. For me, Real Madrid's the best team in the world. I said that even before, they won it. I just feel, how elite they are. 15 times they've won the Champions League. It's unbelievable, mate. Like, no one's even close to that. It's crazy. And in that team, they might not even play great. Like, I don't think they played great in the Champions League final. Dortmund just couldn't take their chances. And you do that against Real Madrid, you get punished. I remember Liverpool did a few years ago. A few times Liverpool have against them. And yeah, for me, just the way he's adapted, the way he's consistently been up there, Liga Player of the Season, he's got to be up there. But then again, you could argue Vinicius Junior for me because he does always score in the finals as well. I remember he did against Liverpool, he did in this final as well. So it's out of them two for me. You've got to give it to someone who's won something. Obviously they won the league as well, La Liga. So yeah, man. But yeah, it goes without saying what a player he is, by the way. What a player he is. Now it makes sense why Birmingham actually retired his shirt all them years ago. People are like, well, it's a bit reactionary, but looking back at it, it isn't that bad, is it? I don't know what's going on out there. Ignore that if you can hear that. And then Jared Bowen, again, should be in there for me. Good season at West Ham again, pretty solid season. And yeah, again, he's another player you bring on. If the starting players are not quite working out, that's the player you bring on. So definitely agree with that. Eze, obviously, it's his first tournament. Big up to him. Again, really good season at Crystal Palace. Deserves it. Again, no, I don't want to see, especially if it being his first tournament, I don't want to see him starting games, especially the pressurised games. But I'd love to see him come on and show a bit of his talent that he's got. Phil Foden, again, goes without saying. Now, it's an interesting one with Foden because there's a few places you can play him as well. You could either play him in the cam, you could either play him out wide. Obviously, I'll let you know my lineup later, what I would go with when it comes to Phil Foden. Anthony Gordon, again, deserves it. Really good season at Newcastle. And again, another good option to bring on in games. Some people have said about starting him, but again, nah, not for me. It's a player you bring on, in my opinion. Harry Kane, don't need to say too much. Goes without saying. Cole Palmer, what season he's had. For me, in the whole of the Premier League, my personal opinion, he's player of the season. I feel the way he is adapted to, Chelsea not being in the greatest position. In the end, they, done really well to get European football, but just some of the games, he carried them through, if we're going to be honest. I remember that Everton game when they won 6-0. He was unbelievable in that game. Hat-trick in the first half. Just immense player. So, yeah, for me, he fully deserves it. Again, you could argue to start him in games. Now, I wouldn't mind that, to be honest with you, out wide. Or even as a, cam. But yeah, obviously I'll get into mine later on that. Saka, again, goes without saying, I wouldn't say he's had the best season at Arsenal this year, but again, you go with him. You go with him. For England, he does well. I just don't want to see him overplayed because I think that's another part of why, He didn't have one of his best seasons at Arsenal. Still a decent season, but he was playing a lot of games, and you're putting a lot of pressure on him. You know, um, to constantly perform. That's more Arteta anyway, that I'm referring to there. But then, to be fair, even Southgate does the same in these pointless friendlies, plays him for 90 minutes sometimes and ridiculous stuff like that. So, yeah, as long as he's not overplayed, and he shouldn't be, you look at them options you've got to come on. If you're not starting them, you've got Palmer, you've got Gordon, you've got them options. So, yeah. And then the last two, Ivan Toney, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit surprised about this because since he's come back from obviously the betting incident, he's not been the greatest, in my personal opinion. Still think he's a good player and that. I still think he's a wicked footballer, but he just ain't really been great. So I'm surprised, someone else is not in ahead of him. Like, even though he's not had the best season himself, Grealish, someone like that. I'm surprised someone like that's not ahead of him. And then Ollie Watkins, again, really good season at Aston Villa. And he is the one behind Kane for me, at this current moment in time. You can't drop Kane, obviously. So, yeah, overall, I'm happy. There's certain things. Lewis Dunk, I don't think he should be in. And, I would change the midfield around a little bit. But other than that, it's all right, to be honest. I'm going to be honest. He was actually quite close to actually probably doing his best Euro or World Cup squad that he's ever done in his life. Still Southgate out, you lot already know. I don't think we're winning it. Obviously, I'll do my Euro prediction the day before, predicting the whole of the Euros and the knockout stages if results go the way I think, and etc. Stuff like that. So yeah, I'll do it nearer the time. But yeah, just thought I'd react to that. Let's go through some comments before I get into the next bit. Big up to everyone inside, by the way. This was quite a last-minute planned stream, so big up to everyone that's tuned in, man. Thought I'd jump on a live. Haven't really done that for a while. Well, by myself anyway. Big up to yourself, mate. Big ups, fella. Big up to yourself, mate. Hope you're well. Big up to Chris in the chat. Big up to Steve. He says, hi, mate. Hope you're well. I'm good, thanks, mate. Hope you're well as well. Big up to Spencer in the chat as well. Haiti and all. Big up yourself. Yeah, I was thinking Braithwaite. Quansah, I do think it's a bit early, even though he has done really well for Liverpool, when he stepped in this year. I would have went with Braithwaite personally. Dunk was shocking, yeah, exactly. Glad he didn't bring in Maguire. Yeah, obviously I'll get into all of that in a bit. Big up to Stephen, says big up Ty. Big up to Adam Biggs. Gomez, utility player. Yeah, exactly, mate. That's the thing. That's why I don't mind Gomez in at all, because he is a good utility player. But again, he's another one of them players for me. Don't put him in centre back because he's not actually great there. He's just better on the left or the right. There is a few debates I've seen, starting him on that left side. You could see that, because, like I say, especially if Shaw's not 100%, Trippier's not been the greatest this season. So I could maybe see it. But again, I'll get into my lineup later that I'll go with. Yeah, no, absolutely. He has had a good season for Palace, definitely. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It is mad. It is mad. I mean, yeah, Solanke is in there for a shout. If Solanke, he's still done really well this year. If he was continuing how he started off the season, then yeah, to be honest. Like I say, I'm a little bit surprised Toney's in because, like I say, he hasn't been great since he come back from the incident that he had, with all the betting and that. But yeah, I'm surprised, even though Grealish ain't been great, someone like that's ahead of him, to be honest. I'm a little bit surprised. But yeah, Solanke's another good shout. I think he might have been. Again, I don't think he's had the greatest season. I think he started off okay, but as the season went on, I don't think he was great. I think he was getting quite exposed in games. Yeah, I know he's playing as a left back and he's actually a centre back, but I don't know. I used to think he was decent, but as the season's gone on, I'm not too sure, man. Yeah, I mean that's true about the chippy, cagey player. Yeah, you're not wrong there. He does have add a different element to the game, sort of thing. But I'm like taking out his form. I'm surprised Southgate picked him, even for the Euro. Even for the was it the qualifiers? Not too long ago. Just because he's done all that betting stuff, and we know Southgate's not really right. He don't really usually accept that type of thing. Stuff like that. So, I'm a bit surprised in that aspect. Like I say, I like Ivan Toney as a player, but I'm just being real. I don't think he's been great since he's come back. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it. At the end of the day, he's not going to start. He's going to come on in games, and even then, you're probably how many games is that actually going to be? Because for me, Watkins is ahead of him in that order, and you will get Watkins coming on before him. I can imagine in games anyway. So yeah, and also that you have got to take that into account. Big up to yourself as well, Blue Terrier. He is very good at penalties as well. I mean, I don't want to jinx it if we do get to a penalty shootout, but most of our players are good at penalties. That I can think of: Kane, Toney, Foden's pretty good at them. Obviously he's took a few for City and that. We do have a few. Obviously, there's a few that ain't great. The Bellingham, he's good at them as well. So yeah, it's one of them. But yeah, there we go with that. Big up to Hanno in the chat. Big up to yourself, mate. Big up to Jordan as well. Says, hey, bro, big up yourself. So yeah, there we go with that. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on the England squad. And then moving on to the players that haven't quite got picked. I'll share my screen on this section. 1 second. Oh, there we go. So Jack Grealish and Harry Maguire have been left out of England's squad for Euro 2024. James Maddison, and Curtis Jones also haven't been selected in Southgate's 26-player squad. Southgate called it a difficult day for those who didn't make the team, but they took it really respectfully. I'm not too sure about that. It sounded like Maddison didn't, to be honest. The England manager said that he and his staff gone over and over the selection. He said he was sad to leave out. Oh, yeah, whatever. It's just, yeah. So this is what Maguire said about it. I'm devastated to not have been selected to play for England at the Euros this summer, Maguire said on social media. Despite my best efforts, I've not been able to overcome an injury to my calf. Maybe I pushed myself too hard to try and make it. Simply, I am absolutely gutted. This is what Maddison said on it. Devastated, doesn't quite cut it. Trained well and worked hard all week. But if I'm honest with myself, my form for Spurs when coming back from injury in the second half of the season probably wasn't at the levels I had set, which gave Gareth a decision to make. I still thought there'd be a space for me in a 26-man squad as I feel brings something different and had a mainstay in this whole qualifying campaign. Bellingham there, obviously, with the Champions League. Quansah, Braithwaite, Trafford also missed out with that. So, yeah, my thoughts on it. Maguire, well, obviously, if he's injured, he's definitely injured. Otherwise, he would be getting picked. Rightly or wrongly, in our opinions, he would be getting picked. So he's definitely injured. There's no BS there. Maddison, he said it himself, didn't he? His form for Spurs wasn't great since he come back. And you look at the options for England, especially in that sort of cam role, you've got options there. Players that have performed better throughout the whole season, in my opinion. You've got Palmer there. You've got other players that can go there as well. Eze, you've got Foden. You've got loads of options there. So for me, when I look at it, it's probably a right decision. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that when it comes to that. And then the other players, like I say, Quansah, it's maybe a bit too early for him. I know he's had a good season for Liverpool, but I don't know. I do think it's a bit too early. Braithwaite should be in though. He should be in for me. And then, yeah, Trafford again. He was never going to get in. Don't even know how he was even up there with the keepers. To be honest, seriously, I don't know. I think he's overrated. But there we go. That's my opinion. on that. And then the rest is the rest. Grealish, I mean, he ain't had the greatest form for City, like I said earlier. But again, I'd have maybe put him over, the likes of Ivan Toney, someone like that, personally, But again, I don't mind Tony in. I'm just basing it on form and more so, Grealish had a lot more experience within England, hasn't he? So, yeah, that's that. When it comes to that, Bellingham is in the squad, mate. Of course, he is. Obviously, he's had he's on the forwards on the England squad. He counts as that, and obviously he's had the Champions League final, hasn't he? So he's obviously recovering and all that from that. You don't need to play in these friendlies. I watched a friendly briefly the other day. I saw, them games where you just have them on in the background, right? If something happens, you look up and go, "Oh, all right, fair enough." That's sort of how it was. I don't think we performed great. Yeah, we won 3-0, but come on, man. We scored late on goals. Do you know what I mean? Like, it weren't convincing, if I'm going to be honest. But again, I don't really care about these friendlies. This is why I'm not doing no watch alongs or anything to these friendlies because I'm not interested. You know, I'll watch them, just in case anyone gets injured or anything like that. But I'm not sitting there watching it proper, if you get what I mean. So yeah, that's that. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I sort of said that. I sort of said that with him as well. He started really well, but he did drop off a bit. But I don't know. Like I said, I don't mind Tony in, but yeah, it also goes back to what Southgate said many years ago. He picks players on form. So if you're picking players on form, half of these ain't been great. Well, not half, but you know what I mean. Certain players ain't been great. So yeah, that's that when it comes to that. But yeah, the last bit I'm going to move on to is the 11. So if the Euro started tomorrow, let me know in the chat. What would your 11 be? Now, for me, this would be mine. So in goal, obviously Pickford always does well for England. I'm going to go over 4-3-3. But what I will say before I fully do it, the midfield, so the middle one is, think of that as a cam. But obviously I can't quite do it like that on here, which is a bit annoying. So yeah, Pickford in goal. The right back, I'm going to go Kyle Walker. Again, I feel he's the best right back in the Premier League. So yeah, I'll go with him there. Now the defence, if Maguire was available, it would be him. So I'd have just went for him just because of that. With that with John Stones, but because he's not in now, it's interesting because you've got Konsa, you've got Gomez, you've got who else have you got? You've got Gay. Like I say, Gomez, Konsa. I'm not sure about them as centre backs. So I'm actually going to go with Gay in this one. Don't rate Dunk. I've already said that. So yeah, who else really you going to go with? There. Anyone else got any options there? Do let me know. Left back, I am gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Trippier. For me, because Shaw's not. We're not sure if he's going to be 100%. No pun intended. You can go with Gomez or Trippier for me. I'm going to go with Trippier because he does do well for England. Again, he's another player that does do well for England. I feel Gomez is more of a player you bring on in this tournament, similar to what it has been, especially when everyone's been back defensively for Liverpool. I think it's sort of similar in that sense. But I wouldn't mind if Gomez starts. But again, Trippier is more experienced for England. So I would go with that when it comes to there. Now, the three in midfield, two of them go without saying, and them two are obviously Bellingham and Rice. But Bellingham, for me, like I say, he's that cam. Can't quite move him forward on this formation thing, but he is the cam for me there. So, yeah, and obviously Rice, them two go without saying. And then the other side, you got a toss-up. You can go Eze, you can go Mainu. Like I say, I don't want to see them in it, me personally, just because you're putting a lot of pressure on them. They are good players. They are good players, but I feel we should go with someone experienced and someone Southgate likes to put in the midfield, and we know that is Trent. I'm going with Trent. I want to see Trent in midfield in this tournament. You see him play there the other day. Yes, it was Bosnia, but you can only look good and essentially have them practice games and look good so that you show that you're ready for the actual tournament. And I feel that's what he's been doing, especially recently when he's played there for England. Who was that guy? I think it's Malta again. I know it's not greatest opposition, but he's just playing well with what he can, sort of thing. He's showcasing his ability really in midfield. Again, people say, "Oh, Southgate started this midfield trend." No, he didn't. He played there when he was younger for Liverpool, in the academy. So I don't want to hear that nonsense. But yeah, I'd definitely go with Trent. Like I say, in midfield, I actually would. And I would essentially, what it essentially is, I can't really show it on here, but what essentially it is Trent and Rice behind and then Bellingham ahead. That's essentially what I'd go with. Obviously, you go with Rice and Bellingham. It's just that other one. Who do you go with there, really? But for me, Trent, like I said, I don't want to see Mainu or anyone like that starting, in these crucial starting games anyway. Maybe if we won the first two games and the last game, we can sort of chill a little bit, you know, then yeah, maybe. But nah, not for the important games. So yeah, even then, we'll probably do it the hard way because that's what England do. And then the three up front. Now, again, it's pretty interesting. Again, you're going to go with Kane. That goes without saying. And then there's a few things you can do. You can put a few players out wide. You can put Cole Palmer out wide. You can put Foden out wide. You can put Saka out wide. You can put Gordon out wide. You've got them options, haven't you? This is what I would go with personally. So Kane up front. On the right side, I'm going to stick with Saka, but I was potentially thinking of putting Palmer in. But I feel Saka's one of them ones. If he isn't performing, then I'm starting Palmer, on that right side ahead of him. But I'm gonna go with Saka right now. And then that left side, I'm actually gonna go Foden. I'm gonna put Foden on the wing for this. I feel with that midfield, Foden taking on them players out wide as well, feeding them crosses in and stuff like that. I feel that could work well. So that's what I'm going to go with personally. So if the Euros started tomorrow, that would be my my lineup for the game that we have first. So yeah, run through that again. Pickford in goal, Walcott right back, Trippier left back, Stones and Gay. Midfield of Trent and Rice, Bellingham in front, but I can't quite show that. Saka on the right, Foden on the left, and Kane up front. So yeah, there was something here, wasn't there? Confirmed team. I mean, what does it actually do? Put me out to BBC or something? Or I can share my team. Yeah, yeah, I'll do that. I'll put it out on all the socials and all that, but I'll deal with all that stuff after. So yeah, that is my lineup that I would go with. Hanno did put his in. Pickford, Walker, Gay, Stones, Shaw, Rice, Jude, Foden, Palmer, Kane, Gordon. Interesting. I mean, same defence, bar Shaw. Rice, Jude, yeah, you go with them. Foden, yeah. Again, we have got them options as that cam, so potentially Palmer, Kane, Gordon. Yeah, like I say, I was debating to put Palmer in ahead of Saka. If Saka's not performing, like I say, I'm putting Palmer in. Like if Saka doesn't have a good game on the first game, I'm putting Palmer in. Against Denmark. So I know the second game's Denmark. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing. And I think that will be the toughest test in our group, Denmark. I mean, the other teams, looking at their teams, they're not actually, some of them got decent players. I think Slovenia have like Oblak in goal or someone like that, so really top keeper. I think it's Oblak anyway. And Gordon, yeah, getting Gordon's another option. For me, that's more so bring him on. But yeah, you have got them options. Like I say, you can have a bit of a toss up, when it comes to up front. Really, and even that cam roll, like I said earlier. So yeah, it's all opinions at the end of the day. Stephen says Trent, nice pick. Yeah, I want to see him play in midfield in this tournament. Like I say, last few times he's played there for England, he has done well. Yes, it's not been against the greatest opposition, like I say, but you got to showcase your ability in these type of games, so then they trust you to do well there. If you get what I mean. So yeah, with that, Gomez left back instead. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean Gomez or Trippier for me because we don't know if Shaw's going to be 100%. But again, Shaw does do well for England, but I'm a bit surprised if he's not 100% because that's sort of why Maguire didn't get picked because he weren't going to be 100%. So Southgate in it. But there we go. So yeah, there's that. Foden won't work left wing. You don't reckon? No, I think he would. Well, even then, you've got options. Like I say, you've got Gordon. You've got a few others as well, haven't you? So yeah, because I feel it's hard to drop him. I think in the World Cup I was said about dropping him, but I felt he's more of an impact player. But how he's been this season, you have to have him in that lineup for me. Whether that's as a cam or out wide. But I like my midfield. I think the midfield's going to do really well. I don't want to see Mainu starting. I think he's a good player, but don't put pressure on these youngsters in these tournaments. Especially how much pressure there is on England. We're the favourites somehow. I don't know how. We haven't won anything to even be up there for the favourites. But yeah, anyway, like I say, I'll get into my predictions for the whole tournament. Day before Euros actually starts, which is obviously the 14th, so I'll do it on the 13th. With that, yeah, exactly, mate. He needs time to develop, but I believe he will be a good player. I definitely believe that. Especially with how good he's done for Man United this season, considering they had the greatest season as a whole. The way he's stepped up for them and looked really good, but exactly, it's like you say, he needs time. It's too early to be starting him and stuff like that in these tournaments. And Southgate should have learned from that. Like I say, when Saka was a bit younger, I put that pressure on him, didn't he, to score that penalty for us, against Italy, and obviously we know it didn't quite happen. So hopefully Southgate's learned from that, not to put as much pressure on these young players. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, if we win the first two games and the last game we're sort of chilling, because we would have qualified, obviously, then, we'll go from there. Then maybe start them in the games, like Mainu, Wharton, them players there, you know what I mean? So that's how I see it. With that, no, that's very true. That's very true. And, they did have a better season than Arsenal. At the end of the day, people, yeah, the aim of football is to win trophies. Do you know what I mean? So they had a better season. Liverpool had a better season than Arsenal as well. Who's going to look back on it in 10 years' time and go, they ain't going to look at where you finished in the league if you didn't win anything. If you won something, they'll talk about it. Like, look at when flipping Wigan got relegated and won the FA Cup. People talk about that because they won the FA Cup, mate. Do you know what I mean? No one cares if you don't, win nothing. They're not going to look at it for that. Do you know what I mean? So I totally agree, mate. Totally agree. And by the way, Man United in that FA Cup final, man, fair play to them. First half, I thought they were really good. Stuck it on City. Yeah, I know City would, had their celebrations and all that, but still, they had a good chance to do the double. So yeah, it's Man United done well. Done well. It did ruin my bet, which is a bit annoying, but yeah. Yeah, no, definitely 100%. Big up to Luca in the chat. Good, thanks, mate. Hope you're well. No, exactly. City were really poor, and De Bruyne are in big games, mate. All right, let's talk about that. He does not turn up in the big games. I don't care what anyone says. He doesn't. Where was he in that final? His crossing was shocking, mate. He got hooked off again. Hooked off. Don't compare him to Premier League midfield greats. No, seriously, don't. Because them players that are the Premier League greats, they turn up in the big games, mate. Where is he in that game? All right, we're the Premier League game, but even other games, he's been hooked off, mate. You don't hook your best players off most of the time, unless they're like, I don't know, they've scored 2 goals, they've got 2 assists, whatever. If they're still not performing great, they can do one bit out of nowhere. And he always gets hooked off. He's overrated for me. He's a good player. But he's not a Premier League great for me. They say midfield greats. No, not for me. He don't turn up in the big games, mate. When it matters, he does not turn up in the big games. And now I'm hearing he's being rumoured with Saudi. I mean, again, who doesn't, turn down that money nowadays? Will it actually happen? I don't know about this season. Maybe next season when Pep leaves, if he actually is leaving. Because then I think City will just go downhill, personally. But obviously, it depends what happens with all these, charges and all that. I mean, they are trying to sue the Premier League. Yeah, I wonder why. But yeah, that's for another day anyway. When it comes to stuff like that. But yeah, I'm all right, thanks, mate. Hope you're well. But yeah, people, I thought I'd do a live, talk about the England Euro squad and stuff like that. Best England 11 that you would go with. Obviously, if you do watch this back on playback, do tell me in the comments your thoughts on the Euro squad and what your best 11 would be for Euros if the Euros started tomorrow. And yeah, like I say, this is the first load of content for the Euros. So obviously, do check out everything I do. Watch alongs with certain people. Like I said at the start of the stream, we'll try and get Blake on again. Obviously, he was on the last set of Euro content. And yeah, man, it'll be good, innit? It'll be a throwback. But I've got a few people already that have offered to, come on the watch alongs and stuff like that. So that'll be good, man. That'll be good. And yeah, regular faces that you've seen. Well, not regular, but faces you have seen before. So yeah, man, and potentially maybe even doing fan cams as well after the games. Maybe, if not, definitely watch alongs though. And I might even do other games. To be fair, I might even do other games. Like I did for the World Cup, for example. So yeah, we'll see as it goes on. But obviously, I'll be doing the England games, watch alongs to all of the games, however far we get. And yeah, like I say, the day before, I'll be doing my predictions as well as a whole. So yeah, do check out all that. And then obviously we've still got Luton content as well. Me and my dad, we were going to be back tomorrow with the Hatter Show, but we are going to be back on Saturday instead. Obviously, he's been in London, and yeah, he's coming back. Well, he's come back today, but he needs to recover because he's been on some long walks up hills and stuff like that. So yeah, with his mate, shout out to Thompson. But yeah, do check out the Hat Show the other day, actually. First one, people, that wasn't live, which is crazy. Because that was like the 183rd episode. But yeah, do check that out if you haven't already. We went outside Kenilworth Road, done a bit of a special one there for his birthday as well. And yeah, like I say, I'll be back again on Saturday when it comes to that sort of stuff. And we will be doing a player ratings season on Tiermaker. And then I think next week, Monday or Tuesday, we're going to do another Tiermaker, but keep, sell, loan. Obviously, we'll do it based on what we would have done, even though some players have already gone. I want to get that done before the transfer window opens. And then obviously we have Euro content. So yeah, people, keep an eye on the channel and stuff like that. Do turn on the notification bell if you haven't already. Do subscribe as well. Smash a like on this video if you haven't already. Follow me across all my socials. And I did put out a little YouTube short earlier. If any of you are into your gaming, especially EAFC, most of you will know, but just check out the video. Smash a like on it anyway. I did post that the Euro, mode is now on there, which is pretty cool. Played a bit of that already. Done a bit of England, like you do on that. And made it actually what I would go with, even though it hasn't updated with the players that have actually got picked and that, all of them anyway. Stuff like that. So yeah, smash a like on that video as well. Smash a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. Follow me across all my socials. And yeah, subscribe to the extra channel, turn the notification bell for that as well. And yeah, all the socials down below, like I say. And I will be back on Saturday now with my dad for a player ratings on Tier Maker. And then yeah, we'll let you know when the next episode will be after that. But it'll be early next week. Early next week, definitely, like I say. So yeah, people, big up to yourselves. Smash a like, all of that. Subscribe, share, all of that. And yeah, until next time, take care and peace.